today I'm going to talk about e-commerce websites, and especially in today's day and age, having a strong website for your clothing brand or any other type of e-commerce product-based business is just super important, and making sure that it kind of is just super well made and tells your story in a way that is easy for website visitors to digest, and has just a clean, accessible, well thought through design. So I'm going to kind of take you through the key things to think about when building a simple site. So I've worked on websites that have thousands of pages and are custom coded and have original technologies built in, and down the line you can build a website with that kind of mentality. But if you're just starting out, there's definitely easier ways to set a site up that still looks super professional and is really accessible. And usually what we do at Stateless is we help build brands from soup to nuts. So starting with just like your general concept and vision and your logo and your messaging, and it kind of all ultimately comes together in the website. But so what we usually do for our clients when we're working on a website with them is we kind of help just set it up, kind of bring all of the assets that we've helped them develop, put them together, do this sort of basic structure, apply our sort of design thinking, our understanding of branding, our understanding of user experience, and kind of create that sort of foundation for you. And then we'll teach you how to manage it and update it going forward. So the platform that I prefer to work in is Squarespace. Some people might recommend Shopify, or there's a couple other platforms like Wix or something like that. But from my experience in working in all of them, I love Squarespace the most. I think that they've really fleshed out their e-commerce portion of it, and all of the sort of marketing and order fulfillment and all of that that you want to kind of have built into their site. I feel like they've caught up to Shopify from that end, and have always led Shopify as far as it being user-friendly, and as far as just being able to look beautiful. So a key difference between Squarespace and some other platforms like Shopify is that you can edit directly as opposed to indirect, where you can, if you want to change, you want to move something, you can drag it. If you want to edit text within the site, you can edit it directly, as opposed to a lot of platforms will take you into a back end where you make a change and then you look to see how that change translated into the live site that the customers are experiencing. So I really like the directness of Squarespace, in addition to a million other things. So the main, like I said at the top, the main things that I like to think about is when you first enter a website, kind of making sure that you're telling your story, your sort of value proposition clearly as users scroll through your page, your homepage. So more so than what your product is or what the pricing is or anything like that, to me the most important thing to establish up front is the why and the who. So before you get to the what. So why you exist, who you are, what are you offering, what's your story, what's the sort of, all the sort of emotional value that kind of goes into your brand and makes you special compared to anything else out there on the market that's in your space. And then lead them into deciding, yeah, I love this brand, it's beautiful, I love their story, I have connected to you and I want to buy your product. And so without that, I think that it ends up, especially as a small startup, you're not if you don't kind of prioritize that story, you're not really offering much that a competitor that has maybe lower price points or more to offer, more variety to offer. You're not really doing enough to stand out from them. So the sort of personal connection, I think, is especially important for a startup. Then you just want to think about consistency and making sure that the way that you present information is consistent across the site. So that involves, consistently presenting your typography when you're describing a certain type of information, kind of organizing that and making sure, okay, this is a top level type of information, so it should be in the big header in this font. This is more of secondary, not as, doesn't have to grab attention type of information, so that can be in this kind of font. And you can kind of just think it through and organize it so that the last thing you want is for a user to have to reassess the situation every time they get to a new page. You want to quickly establish a sort of comfortable familiarity with how your site works and how it's structured, and not overwhelm them with too many different types of presentations and layouts and fonts and pictures. So I'm going to just kind of take you through a website that I'm working on right now for a client that I actually met through this platform. And I'm going to show you her old site, and then the site that we're working on now to kind of redo it and update it. So she has she's based in Alaska, and she has a line of jackets that are inspired by Kussbucks, and I'm learning all about her fascinating, amazing, inspiring culture. And Kussbucks are a traditional Alaskan, like a native Alaskan garment that she's kind of translated into a modern context for like Arctic outerwear and like weatherproof jackets that are super beautiful. And so I've just really enjoyed working on that brand. And so I just thought it was a good example to kind of show the type of thinking that I'm putting in to make sure that her amazing story and her amazing products are really being highlighted in the best possible way. So let me just share my screen real quick. Okay, now we have an infinite mirror. Okay, so this is her website as it stands now, before I've started working on it. And it's built in Shopify. And so I'll just kind of take you through a few different notes that stood out to me right away, and like areas that I saw for improvement. And then I'll show you where we're at so far with the new site. So what I kind of noticed first off is the placement of the logo just creates so much empty space and takes so much time or space before you get to the the navigation and then to the images. And so just kind of wanted to clean that up and just kind of have a more efficient use of space, which is super important. So if you look at the new site, the image fully takes over the screen. It has the type mark instead of the icon because the type mark fits better into a horizontal context. And also the type mark helps establish more more brand recognition. For a new brand, you kind of want to kind of burn into people's memories the name of your company. So I thought that was really important to kind of put up top. And then, having some sort of key messaging of who this brand is, what their story is, and just kind of an upfront one-liner. Whereas if we go back over here, it's not really saying anything about what this company is or what their value proposition is right away. And then if you scroll down, it immediately gets into the products and buying the products, and has a lot of payment information right away. And so to me, you haven't really established why am I buying these products? So that's not really relevant to me right away. So if you go to what we're working on now, we first kind of establish, like I said, that they're what the inspiration behind their products are, and an ability to click in to learn more about that. Ability to kind of learn more about their story and where they're based and how they came to be, and then also what do they stand for, what do they care about, and they have a strong emphasis on the environment and their relationship to the environment and their culture, and then also the way that global warming is directly impacting them in the more immediate future than some other parts of the world. Just making sure that all of that sort of information is accessible early on, so that you care about the brand before you click into shop. So then in the shopping section, one area where we're going to improve is on the product photography. So the product photography that they have right now just isn't done consistently. It's not done with a high quality camera, and it's not done against a clear background where you just have no doubt as to what the product is. So basically, with product photography, you want everything to be very, very clear, accessible. You want to have multiple angles to show all the different sort of sides of your product. And right now, she only has one angle for each colorway, and you want to see what the hood looks like on, what it looks like off. I want to see more sort of details about these interesting patterns, and just something that, shots that really clearly communicate the products. And then, so if we look at a site like Clay Shoes and the way that they present their product shots, they're all done with the exact same composition, exact same lighting and everything, so that there's not, if each shot feels different, then you're kind of needing to kind of reassess every time you look at the shot to kind of know what you're looking at. Whereas this, because they're presented so consistently, all you're focused on is the difference within the products. So you immediately notice the pattern that's on this product versus, the different colors or the sort of black that's on the back of this product. So you just immediately focus only on the product. So that's what's really important for the product shots, is just to present the products as clearly and as transparently as possible, so that people know exactly what they're buying and they trust it, because they don't have the luxury of being able to see it and try it on in person. So being able to clearly understand what your product is from a website as much as possible is super important. So the way that we are currently dealing with product shots at Stateless is we have like just a kind of a safe system set up where you can just send us the products and we'll photograph them really well and then send them back to you, so that there's less risk of human interaction during Corona. So and we just think that product shots are essential, and so we're trying to think about the best, safest way to do that. And then just to go back to, we'll go to the About page. Again, just kind of thinking about how to best tell the story of their brand, and also just kind of have nice visual moments. And so this is where lifestyle photography comes into play. And this brand has beautiful lifestyle photography, and it really just helps the website come to life. And if it's really high quality and done with a professional camera and has great lighting, then you can really utilize it and make it fill the entire screen. And it just really, really helps make your website feel professional and memorable. And so it's something that is really important to prioritize, and how we approach lifestyle photography is just thinking about how to kind of bring your brand world to life. And when you put it into the website, it's really kind of has a transportive quality to it. So for this particular brand, we're wanting to take you to Alaska in the fall. That was the client's vision, and where she just loves the colors and everything about it. So kind of, yeah, the more imagery we have of that, and more high quality imagery we have that kind of brings you into that world, the more we can fill the website with it, and really kind of make you feel like you're escaping into the brand world. So yeah, so that's basically all I have for now for websites, but I'm happy to answer any questions. If anyone wants to ask any questions about website or just generally about brand development, happy to answer. All right. Hi, JB. Okay. So for purchasing your website domain, you can purchase that directly through Squarespace. It makes it a lot easier. If you purchase it through GoDaddy or Google or some other platform, you can definitely still connect them. But yeah, I recommend if you haven't purchased it already and you're starting from scratch with a website platform, getting the domain directly from the website platform will just make your life a lot easier, because domains can be really complicated for connection purposes. If you want some back-end business intelligence and reporting, does Squarespace provide those features, or do you have to buy something else special? So definitely, Squarespace definitely provides that. So what's with Shopify, they have that built in, but Shopify in general, especially for design things, it asks you to buy everything in pieces. So if you want to do something simple like a photo gallery, oftentimes in Shopify you have to buy a sort of plugin to have a photo gallery. Whereas Squarespace, most of the things that you need are built in. The only sort of third-party things are like shipping, like fulfillment type of things, where you can just kind of like plug in how to automatically generate like shipping labels when an order comes in or something like that. But as far as, yeah, like analytics of knowing who's visiting your site, how many people are visiting your site, where they're coming from, all of that is built into Squarespace. And yeah, as part of the tutorial in teaching my clients how to manage their sites, I kind of take them through how to interpret that data and work with it. And then we also, I should mention, have SEO experts and can kind of think about that, but that's a whole other category. But it's good to consider how consider SEO and how you appear in Google searches, and what sort of keywords are important to you, and what sort of markets you want to target from that regard. So the question from Stephanie is Wix good for fashion apparel? And I just don't recommend anything above Squarespace. There's no real. I haven't felt any sort of real strong strength for anything that really kind of pulls me away from Squarespace, especially Wix. I don't think they're necessarily as caught up from the e-commerce standpoint, but maybe they've made updates recently that I'm not aware of. But from my understanding, Squarespace I would recommend more than Wix. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, here. With regards to product shots of swimwear and water apparel, would a white background be best for a detailed view of the product, and then lifestyle photography and main page? So white backgrounds for product shots generally is the way to go, just because of the clarity of it. But for an example, if you have a very sort of strong brand aesthetic and a very sort of specific vibe, sometimes you can play into that vibe with the product shots in addition to the lifestyle shots. So if we look at this company, they are like very sort of like hipster fly, and they have pink backgrounds for their product shots to just make sure that their aesthetic and vibe is just always present. And they have this cool animation that happens when you roll over them. But that's just their particular choice. And so it definitely isn't necessarily the clearest way of depicting the products, but it definitely helps with that emotional connection and, brand feeling. Oh, sorry, I didn't share my screen for that. That website is, it's called evewear.com. If you look at the product shots on evewear, evewear.com, if you look at those product shots, you'll see what I'm talking about. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? All right. So I work for a company called Stateless, and you can find us at makersrow.com/stateless, and we can help with your product or brand development, soup to nuts. And if you have any more questions about websites, feel free to reach out to us. And also, we will be on Embark.live in very, very soon. It will be launching very soon. It's going to be an amazing platform for different experts sharing information. And so I'll have a bunch of videos on there talking about all different sort of aspects of branding. And it will be on embark.live, and you can go and sign up now and be on top of it for when it launches. I'll just answer the last few questions. So Squarespace is Squarespace easy for beginners is the question. I would say it definitely is, but from my experience, if you don't have just good design sense of like type hierarchy, spacing, all of that, it's not necessarily, no website platform is going to guarantee that it looks beautiful. But I do feel like Squarespace is pretty intuitive if you do want to try it yourself. And they also have good customer service if you run into any issues and want to ask any questions. With us, we just have done so many sites that we can just set it up for you quickly, and then it's easier to kind of learn how to update it and manage it than to do all the backend setup and framework setup. But that's it's definitely doable yourself if you do want to save the money on it. How do you best communicate you have a utility patent with your product? I'd have to assess that particular case, and but I imagine that you could, if it's something that's important and that you think it's like a main value add, then you can highlight that on your homepage or in the description of your products. Can you suggest what type of digital phone can be used for photos for websites? So the basic rule of thumb for that would be the most up-to-date, expensive phone that you can get if you're not going to use a professional camera. So like the latest iPhone is probably your best bet. If you use an iPhone 10, you're going to be able to get pretty great photography, especially if you have it in portrait mode and have nice sort of like natural light, even natural light. You're going to do pretty well. But obviously nothing beats a professional camera and a professional person using that camera. But phones are definitely so much better than they were a few years ago. So it's a great place to start if that's what you need to do. All right. So if anyone has anything else, let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And again, I'll have more videos on embark.live, and I'll be back here probably next week. Thanks so much.